Good afternoon, dear friends, and welcome to an intriguing tale of family, transformation, and the unexpected paths life can take us down. Enjoy the story. Successful business tycoon John Anderson leaned back in his plush leather chair, a smug grin spreading across his tanned, weathered face as he watched the young cleaning lady finish tidying his immaculate corner office on the top floor of Anderson Tower. Her name was Emily, and she couldn't have been a day over 20. As she bent over to trim the lush, verdant leaves of the potted ficus plants, her tight, navy blue uniform accentuated her shapely figure. John licked his thin lips, his 55-year-old heart racing beneath his crisp Armani suit. "You're doing a great job, Emily," he called out, his deep baritone startling her. "Oh, thank you, Mr. Anderson," she replied demurely, brushing a stray strand of golden hair from her striking pale blue eyes. Her porcelain skin flushed pink at the compliment. He sauntered over, his Italian leather loafers sinking into the plush carpet, and placed a manicured hand on her delicate shoulder. "Please call me John. We don't stand on ceremony here." His eyes sparkled with mischief as he gave her a conspiratorial wink. "Tell me, Emily," he continued, his voice lowering an octave, "what's a pretty young thing like you doing cleaning offices? Surely you must have bigger dreams than this." He gestured around the opulent office, with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering cityscape. Emily blushed deeper and looked down at the gleaming hardwood floor, her long lashes casting shadows on her creamy cheeks. "Well, John, I'm working my way through college, business studies, and I have to support my mother. She's quite ill, you see, cancer. And then there's my younger brother. He's had some troubles with the law. I'm all they have." She sighed, her slender shoulders slumping under the weight of her burdens. "So I work several jobs just to keep us afloat. It's honest work, though, and I take pride in it." She lifted her chin, a defiant gleam in her eye even as her pink lips trembled slightly. "Beauty, brains, and a tireless work ethic," John mused, rubbing his clean-shaven chin thoughtfully. "You're a real rare gem, Emily, a diamond in the rough. I just hope this cruel world doesn't crush that indomitable spirit." He gazed at her a moment longer, an idea beginning to form in his cunning mind, before glancing at his Rolex. "Well, I mustn't keep you. I'm sure you have other offices to grace with your presence." He smiled, revealing a row of perfectly straight, blindingly white teeth. Emily nodded, a grateful smile lighting up her delicate features. "Thank you for the kind words, Mr. John. They mean more than you know." With a final shy glance, she gathered her cleaning supplies and pushed her cart out of the office. John watched her go, his mind whirring. A real rare gem indeed? The shrill ring of the phone pierced the still, inky night air in John Anderson's sprawling mansion. He rolled over in his king-sized bed, Egyptian cotton sheets tangling around his muscular legs, and glanced at the antique clock on the mahogany nightstand. 2 a.m. "Damn it, not again!" he grumbled, his gravelly voice thick with sleep as he snatched the receiver. "Dad, it's me. I messed up. You gotta help." The voice on the other line belonged to John's 22-year-old son Michael, the bane of his existence, and the black sheep of the Anderson family. "What the hell did you do this time?" John snapped, sitting bolt upright, the vein in his temple throbbing dangerously. Michael was always getting into trouble. DUIs, public intoxication, disorderly conduct. The boy was a magnet for mischief. "My buddies and I were out drinking and, well, we kinda stole a cop car on a dare. Took it for a joyride. I'm in jail, Pop. You gotta bail me out. I'm looking at serious time here." Michael's voice was panicked, echoing off the concrete walls of his holding cell. John slammed his fist on the nightstand, rattling the crystal decanter of scotch, rage boiling in his veins. "Damn it, Michael. You're pissing your life away. When are you going to grow up and take some responsibility? I'm not always going to be around to clean up your messes, you know. No more getting out of this. It's time you learned your lesson." But even as he scolded his reckless, wayward son, John's scheming mind was already hatching a devious plan. A plan to set Michael straight once and for all. "All right, I'll get you out. Sit tight. But mark my words, this is the last time, you hear? I've got a little surprise for you." Michael stumbled out of the dingy police station into the blinding Nevada sunlight, his bloodshot eyes barely making out the scowling, disapproving face of his father. Dad, I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. John held up a large, tanned hand, cutting off his son's hungover ramblings. Save it. I'm done with your excuses and empty promises. You're done with your partying ways, son. It's time you straightened out and flew right. And I'm going to make damn sure of it. What do you mean? Michael asked nervously, eyeing the garment bag slung over John's muscular arm with growing trepidation. You're getting married, Michael. Today. And if you ever want to see a dime of your trust fund, you'll do exactly as I say. John's steely eyes bore into his son's, his tone leaving no room for argument. 2 hours later, Michael stood shell-shocked at a garishly decorated altar in a kitschy Vegas chapel, his new bride Emily at his side, her simple white dress a stark contrast to his rumpled suit. Still in a daze, he turned to his stone-faced father. I don't understand. What's going on? John smirked, clapping his son on the back with enough force to make him stumble. Congratulations, kid. Meet the little lady who's going to turn you into a man. Emily here is your polar opposite. Hard-working, honest, responsible, and she's going to rub off on you, whether you like it or not. As Michael sputtered in protest, his alcohol-addled brain struggling to process this sudden turn of events, John took Emily's small, delicate hand in his own and pressed a crisp check into her palm. That should cover your troubles, my dear. Consider it a wedding gift. I'm counting on you to keep my boy in line. Emily glanced at the substantial sum scrawled on the check, her blue eyes widening. It was more money than she'd ever seen in her life. With a deep breath, she met John's gaze and nodded solemnly. I'll do my best, Mr. Anderson. I promise you I'll do my very best. You have got to be kidding me. Michael stared in abject horror at the rundown shack his father had arranged for him and Emily to live in as part of his rehabilitation. Paint was peeling off the weathered, clapboard walls in strips, the sagging roof was missing shingles, and the overgrown yard was a tangled jungle of weeds and brambles. Emily, ever the optimist, squeezed his hand reassuringly, her calloused palm a reminder of her years of hard work. It's not so bad, Michael. With a little elbow grease and TLC, we can make this a cozy home. Elbow grease? TLC? Michael scoffed, running a hand through his artfully tousled chestnut hair. I don't even know what those are. I'm used to mansions and maids and butlers. I can't live like this. He kicked petulantly at a rotting porch step, nearly losing his balance in the process. Well, you don't have a choice, Emily replied firmly, her delicate brows knitting together in determination. Your father cut you off. If we're going to make it, you need to get a job and start contributing. It's time to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty. A job? Michael blanched, looking positively green around the gills at the very notion of manual labor. But with no access to his trust fund, he had no choice. The next day, he found himself on the grimy assembly line at the local canning factory, his soft, manicured hands blistering and bleeding as he struggled to keep pace with the clanking, hissing machinery. As the weeks passed in a blur of sweat, toil, and calluses, Michael slowly began to change, much to his own surprise. With Emily's gentle encouragement and unwavering support, he started taking pride in his work, learning the deep satisfaction that comes from putting in an honest day's labor. In the evenings, he and Emily would tackle the Herculean task of fixing up their humble abode together, laughing until their sides ached as they slapped on fresh coats of paint and hammered crooked nails. Gradually, the spoiled, entitled rich boy began to fade away, replaced by a man who appreciated the simple things in life. A cold beer after a hard day's work, the feel of his wife's head on his shoulder as they watched the sunset from their now sturdy porch. And as he fell asleep each night, his aching muscles intertwined with Emily's soft curves, Michael started to realize that he had found something far more valuable than all the money in the world, true love and a sense of purpose. John Anderson stepped out of his chauffeured Rolls-Royce, his Italian leather loafers crunching on the gravel driveway, kicking up tiny clouds of dust. It had been 6 long months since he had shipped Michael and Emily off to this god-forsaken hovel, and he was here to see if his admittedly unorthodox plan had borne fruit. He had to admit, the place looked different. The once overgrown lawn was neatly manicured. Colorful flower boxes overflowing with blooms adorned the freshly painted siding, and the previously sagging roof had been replaced and stood straight and true. Stepping up to the door, he raised his fist to knock, but it flew open before he could make contact. There in the doorway stood Michael, but not the Michael he remembered. Gone was the pasty, doughy playboy with perpetually bloodshot eyes. This Michael sported a healthy, sun-kissed complexion, his once soft body now lean and rippling with hard-earned muscle. He wore a simple flannel shirt and well-worn jeans, and his face was split in a wide, genuine grin. "Dad!" he exclaimed, engulfing John in a bear hug that nearly knocked the wind out of him. "What a surprise! Come in, come in!" As John stepped over the threshold, his jaw nearly hit the floor. The interior of the house had been completely transformed, with cozy, mismatched furniture, cheerful curtains, and a fire crackling merrily in the hearth. The mouth-watering aroma of a home-cooked meal wafted from the kitchen, making his stomach rumble. Emily emerged, wiping her flour-dusted hands on her apron, her golden hair pulled back in a messy bun, and her cheeks flushed from the heat of the stove. "John! Welcome! I hope you're hungry. Dinner's almost ready. I made your favorite. Pot roast with all the fixings." Over heaping plates of tender meat, creamy mashed potatoes, and crisp green beans, Michael excitedly regaled his father with tales of his new job as a foreman at the factory. "I never knew work could be so fulfilling, Dad. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm making a real difference, like I have a purpose beyond just being a trust fund brat." Emily beamed at her husband, her cornflower eyes shining with love and pride. John watched the couple, a lump forming in his throat, and a suspicious stinging in his eyes. Could it be? Had his black sheepson actually turned into a ram, a leader, a man? "I just don't know what to do with the boy," John's longtime friend Bill sighed as they sat in the steam room at their exclusive club. "He's out of control, just like Michael was at that age. Drinking, partying, getting into trouble with the law. At this rate, he'll run my company into the ground before he even takes over." John leaned back, a knowing smile on his face. "I'll tell you what to do. Tough love. That's what turned Michael around. Well, that and an arranged marriage to a good woman." Bill's eyebrows shot up. "An arranged marriage? I thought that whole thing with the maid was just a rumor." "No rumor," John chuckled. "Marrying Emily was the best thing that ever happened to Michael. She straightened him out, gave him a work ethic and a purpose. Now look at him, a successful businessman, reviving that old canning factory on the other side of town. I couldn't be prouder." John clapped his friend on the shoulder as he stood to leave. "Just remember, Bill, sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. Michael fought me tooth and nail, but in the end, pushing him to grow up was the most loving thing I could have done.